Good morning, my name's Mark Pack. I'm co-editor of Liberal Democrat Voice and I'm here in Birmingham for the party conference. Yesterday, Tuesday, saw several big keynote speeches, including one from Chris Huhne. Chris's speech in advance got sort of a fair amount of media coverage for his sort of comment near the end of the speech that there's no room for, no desire for anything like a Tea Party in the UK. However, perhaps more significant in the longer run was the underlying message of Chris's speech, which was that green growth and economic recovery really go hand in hand, and you can't have one without the other. Although various deep greens in the past, and indeed still today, knock the idea of economic growth, Chris's message very much was that to be environmentally friendly, you need to have economic success, and to be economically successful, you need to have green policies. And Chris spent quite a lot of his speech talking about the different achievements of the government so far, particularly in respect of things like the Green Investment Bank to support investment in green technologies and green industry. One of the other keynote speeches was from Minister for Pensions, Steve Webb, stressing one of the big achievements in his area since the general election has been the agreement with the Conservatives to restore the link between earnings and the basic state pension, and in fact do it in a much better way than we used to have in the past because of this triple lock guarantee, which means that if inflation is actually soaring ahead of earnings, then in fact the state pension will go up by the inflation figure instead. When it came to debating motions, I was actually moving the motion right at the beginning of the day to amend the party's constitution to improve the transparency of our federal appeals panel. As it turned out, I was the only speaker in the debate. I was sort of both the mover, the debate, and the summator, so I was slightly relieved that conference voted to pass that. Would have been a little embarrassing had it not been persuaded when it was only me speaking. Perhaps the more surprising item during the day to generate controversy was the quality of life policy paper, because traditionally Liberal Democrat conferences are very loath to defeat a policy paper that's gone through the whole party policy making process. It's very, very unusual even for there to be that close a vote on whether a policy paper should be passed. But yesterday the quality of life paper was nearly defeated, thanks in part to some very powerful speeches from people such as Richard Flowers, who many of you may know as one of the most prominent and successful Liberal Democrat bloggers. The basic point of the quality of life working paper was to say there's more to life than how much money people have in their pocket, and when people are drawing up government policies or drawing up policies at other levels of government, they should remember those wider concerns than simply how much money will any individual policy end up putting in somebody's pocket. Quite a few good things in the policy paper, but the criticism that was made through the debate was that it was just getting a little bit too, wouldn't it be nice if the world was nice, and maybe not quite hard-edged enough and not quite focused enough on remembering that the core Liberal Democrat beliefs of freedom and of liberty actually do help deliver those wider benefits. It's not simply about money in people's pockets. Policy paper did just get through, but given it was also trying to set out a framework for other policies the party should be fleshing out in more detail during future years, I'm sure the criticisms will be borne in mind, and indeed if they're not, people will come back at future conferences. Today, Wednesday, is the final day of party conference. There's a long discussion on the NHS due this morning, but the real business of the day in many ways is Nick Clegg's sort of keynote speech as party leader. Looking through the coverage there's been of conference so far, I think perhaps the big challenge for Nick in his speech will be to set out positively what the Liberal Democrats are for. We've had quite a lot during conference of what the Liberal Democrats are against. The Liberal Democrats are against the very richest in Britain getting a tax break. The Liberal Democrats are against people avoiding paying their fair share of tax. Quite a lot of stuff that we've been against. A few bits that we're clearly in favour of and have come through in conference, particularly in terms of gay marriage. But overall, it's more been about what we're against than what we're for. So certainly that's what I'll be looking out for from Nick Clegg's speech. We'll be posting up the full transcript of Nick's speech on Liberal Democrat Voice. That's www.libdemvoice.org later today. And by all means, come visit the site and take part in the discussion on the comments to let me and my colleagues on the Lib Dem Voice team know what you think of Nick's speech.